And so, Stacy, man, tell us exactly how did COVID-19 creep into your life? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah, it's funny you use that term too, creep into to my life because that, you think of creeping, you think of monsters, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's a monster. Um, I thought we were doing everything right, Peter. Before they started instituting these social distancing, before they started instituting stay at home, we was already, my wife, my family, we was already doing that back toward the end of February, because the U.S. government has been behind this thing from the start, and that's a major reason why it's so bad in America, is because the government just they turned a blind eye to it. We even had government officials at first call it a hoax.
Yeah.
So but we knew we saw things. My wife and I do volunteer work in Chinatown, in fact, in Philadelphia, and
Mm.
and that's every Monday, right? And we would go down there and we see all the residents and the merchants wearing masks, and this is February.
Mm.
And it was interesting because we started asking. We was at a place called Paris Baguette, and we started asking, well, why is everybody wearing masks around here? I mean, we knew that the culture, some of them wore masks anyway, but
Gotcha.
now we were seeing everybody with masks. And the
Hmm.
young lady who runs that shop said, the virus, um, and so they travel back and forth. And we thought, wow, so that's when we started really staying back, and the folks who volunteer with us, well, usually we hug, kiss, handshake, we
Yeah.
immediately stopped. We told
Okay.
the group, we gotta see where this goes. So we was ahead, in other words. But just to get back to the
So,
heart
so,
of it.
so, so real quick. So as usual, Stacy, for those who are now joining the live, I go back to it. Stacy Brown has been a rock, a foundation for grassroots reporting within our community with Black Press USA. And I find it ironic that you said you were volunteering in Chinatown in Philadelphia. And what is this volunteer work
Well,
that you?
it's a faith-based volunteer thing. We try to encourage people to read, the scriptures for themselves. You see a lot of times, and this is not meant as a knock against anyone, but you see a lot of times priests, uh, reverends, pastors, bishops. I hear people say all the time, my pastor or my priest told me this is what the Bible says. This is what I should do. So we encourage people to study the Bible, read
Gotcha.
on your own, give them literature if they want, and talk to them about it, and just encourage people. Peter, since the beginning of time for us, not necessarily the beginning of time, but from the time that Africans were brought to America, we were
Hmm.
told we was not to read,
Yeah.
right? Not to think for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so why should this be anything? Why are we allowing people to tell us how to think and what everything we should do? So so our mission is to let people be enlightened for themselves. I don't want to have to tell you what the scriptures say.
Right.
I want you to see it for yourself, because that's
Gotcha.
the most important thing. That education. That's the other thing. Going back to my analogy, since we've been brought over here in the
Mhm.
slave ships, education was out of the question. The only education we
Exactly.
knew was, how to get in the field and serve, the master, right?
Exactly. And that's why
But
it's critical, Stacy, for you being with Black-owned media and now affected by this. We want to hear from you because I think a lot of our people, like particularly in the Virgin Islands, my mother is 76, right? And, we're cut off geographically. So we're not fully understanding what's going on. And with the influx of so much people sharing information, So you're here at the Philadelphia, you're volunteering at Chinatown, and you're noticing folks that are wearing masks, like they're ahead of this in some way.
Yep. They were ahead of it, and what was interesting, Peter, a couple of weeks later, we noticed they stopped. This not everybody, but those in that shop stopped wearing masks. So we had already developed a nice rapport with the manager, and so we asked the manager, well, what happened? And you know what the manager told me? She said that the workers were being attacked because they were wearing masks. So there was that discrimination, that racism, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, we got a president who says he calls it the China virus or the Wuhan virus, right?
This guy, man, you know, Stacey, I've been up. I try to steer the fence. You know, you know me. I'm always in the
same
middle.
here. Yep.
I was in the middle, right? Because I feel we're staying in a country where it's groupthink. It's either on the left or the right, and I'm more of a middle of the lane kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But this election November, you guys gonna see me out there with the blue shirt, with a bullhorn, because this guy got to go. So you feel he kind of lagged, and now you're afflicted with this. Do you feel, from a leadership standpoint, he just blew this thing?
Well, for me personally, no. But for me, as a American citizen, yes. Now that sounds a little contradictory, but I'll explain that briefly. My faith is in the Creator, right? I don't put my faith in earthly man, as the Bible says, right? Now he's in charge, and I respect the fact that I respect that office. So with that, as we know, that Spider-Man saying, I know that it originated with Spider-Man, but with great power comes great responsibility. He certainly, you know, I hate making political statements, but he certainly failed miserably. In fact, it's criminal how he has handled this, and how the government in general it's criminal. They, you know, if there was a class action suit, a fair class action suit, he, and you know, I'm talking about the president and others in charge, would be liable for so much damages. In fact, you can make a great case that they're criminally liable for all of these deaths that have happened.
So man, look, I want to be honest and straightforward, man. As a child, I guess I shouldn't be admitting this to the world, but I used to be, in some sense, a hypochondriac. I've always was scared of any type of illness. I'm always anticipating it. And my buddy said, well, look, this is going to be a test of your character, you know, going through this pandemic. So tell me, how did the symptoms start? How did this happen? I mean, when was your last public interaction, or can you trace to where you think you may have been afflicted?
Yeah, let me, before I answer that, Peter, if you don't mind, let me say two things. One about you. You keep talking about me, but I've always admired you and what you have done down in Florida, certainly in your home in the Allens there. You have when I first contacted you, man, I was so excited to talk to you, and I'm just as excited now to be sitting here with you, despite you know what I'm going through. So I certainly wanted to make sure I said that, because this is a privilege, man. I appreciate you reaching out. But to get back to your question, so mine's kind of presented in an odd way, and that's the thing that people just people still. When I say people, let me clarify. The medical science is still clarifying the symptoms, because a lot of people have fevers. Many people don't have fevers. Shortness of breath. Well, in my case, the shortness of breath comes at night, especially. My wife really struggles. In fact, we almost had an episode where they were going to put her on a ventilator, but she actually got the you know, the asthma pump, and so that's been helping her. I'm so grateful they didn't have to put her on a ventilator. But mine's presented. I had two unexplained rashes on my ankles, each ankle. Which is crazy. The skin was raised. Now I'm black. I'm dark. You know, you turn the lights out. These things were pink and red, and they were itchy and burning. And then at about the same time, you know, that's when my wife started with the chest pains and the shortness of breath for her. And then for me, and then her fever spiked. And then I never got a fever. So that I so far have not had a fever.
Okay.
And they said that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But the sore throat, when we think of a sore throat, you drink some hot tea or take,
drinking some right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be good. But this was this was like, and I liken it to, and it happens almost every night now too. It's almost like somebody like strong like yourself grab me by the neck and squeeze with all your might, and that's how it feels. And so you're gasping for air, and at night, the scary thing is like you feel it all in it's hitting your organs hard, because you feel it in your kidneys, on your sides, and then there are nights, many a nights. Last night's example, another example where you feel like, at least I feel like, man, if I want to sleep, but if I go to sleep, it feels like my heart might stop. So you're afraid of that. And then, you got other folks who, and I'll just say this and get right back to my stuff, but other folks whose lungs are filled with fluid, and that's how they can't breathe. But then you have, like, my wife had diarrhea. That's a telltale sign in itself. So we started experiencing these things, and then we went to the emergency room, and it was so obvious because there so many people have it now. So the doctors are almost able to diagnose you on site, right? We talk about the test, and we need the testing, but they're almost able to diagnose you right away. So they gave us x-rays, they went in our throat, and she's like, we need to do no more. She says, you guys have it, but you don't, they checked us out. You don't need to stay in the hospital. The only people they're keeping in the hospitals are those who have to go on ventilators. And that's another reason why ventilators are so critical. And their shortage. Again, our leadership, like, as you said, the government, they have done nothing in fact, leading up to this pandemic, this crisis, is the president fired people who would normally take care of that. He got rid of the stockpile as well. So so it's a real, and then you can't visit anybody in the hospital. They can't have visitors. So to be in the hospital, one of my colleagues in the Black press, Jeff Boney, in Houston, he just got out of ICU after 9 days. And he's been a source of great inspiration, great encouragement for me. And so, I appreciate that. And that's the one thing too, Peter, I wanted to mention right quick. When people have cancer and other illnesses, we hear about these circle of friends and people who go through the same thing, and they get together as a community. Well, this is what this, and that's the thing that we've been able to see too, that with all, America experienced in the last 4 years so much hate. But this is the great game changer. I won't say equalizer, because as long as things are the way they are, we as a people, Black folks, will never be looked at as equal. We have our billionaires, and we have our outstanding, we got the Jay-Z's of the world, and Beyonce's and Bob Johnson's and Michael Jordan's, but we still, I never forget Don King, the great boxing promoter. Love him or hate him, I like the guy.
I'm undecided. I'm undecided.
What I like is his charisma. Yeah. That's what I like about him. But everything else, him decide. Everything else I don't like. But his charisma I like. But Don King told Michael Jackson, the king of pop, back in 1983, he said, Michael, no matter how big you get in America, you will still be just another nigga.
Ain't that something?
And that still, and I remember that all these years later, because that's the attitude of America as a whole. And we
I
saw
know this
that.
not to knock you, Stacy, I don't know if anybody notices, and you guys, somebody could run with this in the media. Last time I checked, Donald Trump doesn't follow one black person on Twitter. I don't know if anybody's not one. I don't know if not even Carson, not one. The last time I checked,
not even Carson, huh?
That's just a nugget, America, that he's on Twitter all day. So he obviously values this platform like it's his soul food. He doesn't deem one black individual. That was months ago. I don't know if he's. The last time I checked, I don't know if he doesn't deem, we come from what, shithole countries? Isn't that what I said? Haiti and my brothers not shithole countries. So talk about it. You touched on some, Stacy, about our names. But I think what's so powerful, not powerful, but what's, I guess, the bittersweet story and lesson that you said that we're learning is the people in society, in a capitalistic structure, we tend to look at low-skilled, they're who matter the most now. Yeah, personally, I don't care what an entertainer is singing or doing what. I don't care about them right now. The nurses, my brother and sister who are social workers, the cops, the delivery guys, the sanitation workers, they have always been the backbone of our society. And that's who matters right now. So I would like to see some of these entertainers, instead of going on your social media in your houses or whatever, dancing and jigging for more attention, use your platform to shift your platform to give these people a voice. Let the doctors, let the nurses take over your lives. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think we're in this critical shift, because they always say in time of crisis, the cream rises to the top.
Yep.
But back to you, man. When I've thought about this disease, when I've thought about my friends, it's like, please give us some clarification, because some people, is the media overblowing this? Are they hyping it up? Are they trying to scare people? How real is this? How real is this, Stacy?
I think I was saying to you off camera, I don't know if we even got to the camera yet, but this thing is a beast. It's a monster. You think about all your horror movies, and this is it. This thing, and you can't see it.
Yeah, right? It's like a little serial killer just running around lurking.
Right. I remember growing up in New York and in the 70s, and I was a kid, and the Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, was running around shooting people. And I just remember the city, and then we had a blackout the same summer. And I just remember the people being so afraid, and we'd be out, summertime is hot, there's no lights, and we'd be in the yard, and family and friends in the neighborhood. This is Queens, okay, Jamaica, Queens. Okay. And we didn't, we didn't think that the Son of Sam was coming into our neighborhood, because he was killing these white women with blonde hair and the white guys that were sitting in Lover's Lane with them, right? Mm-hmm. But the city was gripped with fear for this guy, and everywhere you look, I mean, people were attacking people who they thought was the Son of Sam, right? Because they was afraid. So this is sort of in a way, that's just one analogy I have for this, but it's in a way it's like that, because it's an enemy that you just can't find. And in this case, David Berkowitz was finally caught because he made a mistake. This disease is not going to make a mistake. We're the ones who are making the mistakes.
It's speak on the, there's been a lot of, Black folk, we just love the conspiracies, right? We just love to think something is just, there's some buttons being pulled. I got a rule in life. If that's what's going on, if not, or so, we still got to live and exist in this moment and not get caught up in these distractions. As a Black person who's now afflicted with this, what is this narrative? How is this affecting us? Because I saw the guy, Farkey, he said that, look, this pandemic has shed light on the health disparities facing Blacks in this country. How much of as somebody who is now dealing with this, do you think we're being affected adversely because we were already marginalized?
Oh, that's a major part of it. You were saying something there, and I was thinking of we always joke. Several comedians told the joke about when black folks, when people start running, black folks automatically start running, and white folks run toward the incident, right, trying to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
But in this case, because of our pre-existing conditions, because of our bad eating habits and our bad habits in general, we have
and
actually,
the stress of being in a racist country, the hypertension that comes from living and dealing with racism in America.
Exactly. So we've been pushed toward that those gunshots or fire or whatever it was that people were running from, that those comedians were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been the ones, right? Whereas in that sense, the white folks and everybody else been running away. We ran toward it. But this is you mentioned the president and Twitter. I encourage people to follow Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton on Twitter. She's at the Virginia Medical College. She's spoken for the Congressional Black Caucus, and she's held webinars and things like that. And she's phenomenal.
Okay.
Her information is dealing directly with the Black community, and she's on point. I think that people should follow her. There's Tazon Bell, who's also there. He's another one, and then there's another African American who's probably the top infectious disease physician we know. He is the president of Meharry Medical College out in Tennessee, Dr. James Hildreth. I encourage people to listen to him. He does basically a daily news conference out there in Nashville with the mayor out there, updating people and things of that nature. But
can you imagine if Dr. Sebi was still around right now?
Say again.
Sebi. Dr. Sebi.
Dr. Sebi. Yes.
So look, man, Stacy, let's talk about, let's get a little bit personal for a second, man, because I admire your fortitude right now. When we had the hurricanes down the Virgin Islands, it was a sense of loss. It was a sense of abandonment. So in a weird way, I could live with the inconveniences, right?
Right.
The difference with this thing is it's global. So you could leave a devastated area after a hurricane. We can't leave anywhere.
Right.
Your wife has been afflicted, man. As just a couple, I guess you guys are facing the ultimate test, the best of times, the worst of times.
Mm-hmm.
How, as a couple, have you guys been able to give each other strength? Because you have daughters, right?
Yeah, and one son.
And some of the kids live in the house, right?
We got 3 in the house. And that's a great question, because we are separated from each other. I'm in the basement. She's in the master bedroom, all the way upstairs, and the kids have been phenomenal. It's I gotta say, but one of the things that we've done, my wife and I, is something that we all need to do, whether you're sick, healthy, young, old. Black people don't do this. We don't make end of life preparation. And when you have children, even if you don't have children, but especially if you have children, you have to. It's a tough discussion to have, but you have to have it. You can't run away from something because it's tough. In fact, that old saying, the going gets tough, the tough get going. You got to get tough. And my wife and I, and she's been a lot worse than me. And the doctor keeps warning me that I'm going to catch up to her. So I'm hoping not, but we've had that conversation, and we made some serious plans and brought in who we needed to bring in for those plans. But we don't. That's something else. Talk about disparities. Well, that's something we bring. That part is something we don't do on our own. We should do. Whether it's a living will, a will itself, or some sort of trust documents, some sort of written, notarized something to protect your family. People think that you need to be rich to have a will. Some rich people don't even leave a will. Prince didn't leave a will, right?
And that's something.
but we have to prepare because we wouldn't want, not that we would know about it, but still the thought of anything or some stranger coming in and running things for my children is just, I couldn't, that's crazy.
I
But
mean,
so
Stacey, so you have thought about mortality? Is that something
let
that
me
fear is there?
Yeah, let me tell you something. Like I said, this is a beast, and it struck us, and you feel it. Like I said, there are every night. I don't know if I'm gonna wake up, um, and so half the night is spent awake, and not that that would stop it, because if your heart's gonna stop, it's gonna stop. But I mentioned an analogy. I was in California in 1994 for the Northridge earthquake. In
Yeah.
fact, where I was living, it was the epicenter. So the quake measured over 9 on the Richter scale where we were at. It was overall 6.4, I believe it was, but where we were at, the epicenter was like about a 9.
Yeah.
That was horrible, right? But what really was worse than that was the year-long aftershocks that kept coming. Now they were like 2.3, 3.0 tops in nature on the scale, but they were worse because mentally they destroyed you. You kept wondering if this is another big one or not. Well,
Sad.
this disease is the earthquake, but the aftershocks is what I'm concerned most about,
Mm.
because I feel like, man, what kind of damage when I do heal, when I do get better, I should say, what kind of damage is going to lead to my kidneys, my lungs, my
Mm.
even my heart? Because that disease attacks every organ and really strong.
I mean, what has been your worst night, man? What has been a situation where you were like, wow, I don't know what's gonna happen?
Well, a few days ago, like, again, I'm in the basement. My wife's in the master bedroom. Kids on the middle floor. We see the kids on Zoom, like you and I right now, right?
Um,
Even though we're in the house, we see them on Zoom. They serve us. They put food and vitamins and stuff at our door, but we
wow.
see them on Zoom. We don't see them. So a few days ago, my wife couldn't breathe. So I'm down here, and one of my daughters was up on the top floor where she was at, so she was able to hit the door and tell dad, I need an ambulance. I heard like rumbling down the stairs and then banging on my door. Dad, mommy said call the ambulance. So they clear out while I get up up the stairs. And I'll tell you, climbing a flight of stairs, it's usually something you can just, you do and you don't feel nothing. Now it's just a flight of stairs. So I had to go up 2 flights, and that was tough. So I had to go up to help her get dressed and stuff,
Mhm.
and brought her downstairs. The ambulance came, the EMT workers came, and so that was the first time I really caught a glimpse of the kids' faces, and I saw for the first time the worry and hurt on their faces.
Yeah.
That right there was so challenging. And then when we outside and they telling her, they reminding us, that I can't go with her. And then she's breaking down because we just know this is it. She's going on the ventilator.
Hmm.
That was just so it was a nightmare. It was
How
hard.
long have you and your wife been together?
16 years.
No, I'm just gonna tell you, man. I look at your pictures a lot of times, and I said, man, that's a brother. Got to love the kids. It's inspiring. I just want to tell you that it's a nice model of these are the images our kids need to see. Of you with your daughters raising a strong Black family and loving each other. Um, I mean, we always have these home remedies in the Black community, whether it be
Yeah.
here in the U.S., Africa, the Caribbean. I remember I'm actually drinking some lemongrass. In the islands, we grow the lemongrass in the yards. Is there anything, regimens that you have seen have helped you in any manner, any particular routine that's helping you with this?
So I'm not into. First of all, we take a lot of vitamins, right? And we
Gotcha.
and drink a lot of hot tea. But I'm not into yoga, right? But Russell Simmons, the Def Jam founder, he's very much into yoga. He has a yoga thing.
He's very much into that. Yeah.
All the time. So he calls me up like twice a day, and tries to help me with breathing exercises. And I really appreciate that, because he's got a lot on his plate, right?
Yeah.
He
Russell Simmons.
Yeah. He looks out. He calls me up, like I said, twice a day.
Wow, twice a day. Russell finds time.
Every day. There's not a day that. Now, prior to having this, I'd hear from him once in a while, but every day since I've been diagnosed, and my wife has been diagnosed. We were with him maybe 6 months ago. We had dinner with him, but I hadn't seen him since. And we talk once. Like I said, we talk a couple times. But since we've been diagnosed, he's been calling twice a day, and he's pushing that breathing and that breathing it really helps how to breathe, how to get it out. And the way he did, I can't describe the way he does, obviously. But that you have to breathe. You have to breathe, and you gotta hold it in. I think it's like for like 10 seconds, but you really got to hold it from your stomach all the way up. To let Russell tell it, from your butt all the way up. You gotta really
practice your lungs
hard, and your stomach in, and breathe out. And when you do that, though, you do feel a little bit of a relief. So he makes sure he makes sure he texts me, and several times a day. But then and I text him, and he calls me twice. Like I said, without fail, twice a day. I know I'm getting a call from Russell.
Wow.
And they just had that Def Comedy Jam fundraiser, which they was able to raise a lot of money. So he's always trying to do good.
Real quick, we are in the era of the stoners. We are in the era of the kids, the teens. Like, what would you tell young? Because it affects the lungs. So I'm assuming any form of cannabis smoking right now, you would say nada.
Oh gosh, I've never smoked. I'm happy to say, and never was interested. And certainly, when I look at how much they pay, I was on. I'll never forget.
It's an expensive habit.
Oh God, I was online. Oh shoot, I'm like, listen, I don't consider myself poor, but I'm not rich, But there's no way I'd be paying all that money for cigarettes. I've seen people, and literally, Peter, I was online behind this woman. And I kid you not, it sounds cliche-ish, but had Pampers, milk, cigarettes, that bag of bread, and she didn't have enough money. She put the Pampers back. I said, "Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me!"
She needed those cigarettes. Stacy.
Yeah, I just think that they something got to be in them. It can't just be tobacco.
That's a good point.
It can't just be tobacco.
That's a good point.
What do I know? But you can't. These young ones. You're right. More and more young ones smoke, whether it's cigarettes, cigars, or weed.
Cannabis. Yeah, I mean, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just I'm trying to share this information, because we are in the culture of stoning. We are in the culture of and I know people suffer from anxiety. I mean, I have my bouts with anxiety. That's something in the film that I had exposed, because I think a lot of us as Black men, we don't talk about our emotional issues. So anxiety is something I've battled, throughout my life. And that's how I got into jazz, so I know there's a lot of people right now who are breaking down with panic attacks and anxiety. So how would you suggest, because you're in it, why would you suggest to cope with the fear and anxiety that can possibly be more of the killer than the actual virus?
That's a wonderful question. It's hard to tell somebody who has anxiety problems not to get anxious, right?
Trust me, I know. Yeah, Peter, just stop thinking. Just turn your brain off. So that's why I write so much.
So it's just so important that you find some sort of, not smoking, but some sort of vice to take. To take your mind off of things, whatever works, a TV show, calling a friend, which is really what I'd recommend um, for anybody with any type of anxiety, or even you have a lot of other say mental health aspects, right, and mental
Exactly.
health issues. Um, you know, call someone. And for those who know of somebody who has anxiety or who has other mental illnesses or mental issues, um, call them. If you can't be with them, call them. And don't wait for them to cry out either, because they're not going to cry out. For the most part, they're going to cry out in a way that is going to be extremely detrimental, and in some cases, it's too late. Um, so reach out to them, and those who are dealing with that, my heart goes out to them, because I know it has to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Um,
The liquor
but
stores are just packed. Here
yeah,
in Miami, those liquor stores, them guys getting rich. Them guys getting rich. That's an essential business in these parts, Stacy. That liquor, that yak, this is an essential part right now.
listen, I had a friend of mine's tell me, because I love my scotch. Nothing else. I don't drink anything else except some good scotch, right?
That's it.
And I had a friend of mine. His wife is a nurse, and he was mostly kidding. And I was telling him, I was saying, yeah, I said, you know what I miss most? I miss having a scotch. He said, man,
Yeah.
you a scotch, man. What's wrong with you? Go get you. And his wife, she was in the background. Are you crazy? Because alcohol inhibits your breathing. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
something, I did not know that. So,
yeah.
so alcohol is not something we want to be indulging in.
No, and so this run on the liquor stores is not really the smartest thing. I tell you what,
Oh.
you should be trying to, if you can find Tylenol anywhere, you better stock up on Tylenol, because
Tylenol.
that's all they give you for this.
Tylenol. Yes.
Tylenol.
Speak on that. Are you trusting this new drug that Trump is touting, the chlorohydrochlor? I mean, as
Listen,
someone who is this something you're going to think about trying? I mean,
listen, what you just said, Peter. Trump is touting.
I wouldn't trust anything this man is.
Look, I don't think he would use that drug. All of the medical people said no, 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 no. Let's
So when you
that
went to so your doctors told
no.
you
Right. That's
that
yeah,
that's
'cause,
baseless.
and not because it's concrete proof that it doesn't work, but
Mhm.
there's no evidence on the table whatsoever that suggests that this could hurt, that help you. And there's more evidence to suggest the contrary. And remember, again, you said Trump, and here's a guy who said something to the effect that, basically, well, we need to open things up. So what if 200,000 to 300,000 people die?
All he cares about is the money, the economy.
Yeah.
And see, I want to touch on that. We live in a society today that's so capitalistic, and I've said for years that we're grooming people right in the era of success, the life coach, the entrepreneur. To me, life is a composite of a lot of things. So yes, you make a lot of money, you're good in business. How do you treat other people? Do you lie? Do you cheat? Do you steal? And we found that with a guy in charge who is just a money guy,
Hmm.
just a money guy. So how do money guys think? Well, how much can we pay to fix this?
Right.
That's his logic,
That's
right?
his logic. Yep.
So it's like we've been desensitized from a human vein where you're right. We're watching a leader say, well, okay, they died, and then he's making jokes and whatnot. So I think, Stacy, what would you say? I hate to sound cliche and look for some silver lining, because I'm not that guy. I'm not one of those people when somebody's facing a situation, oh, it's going to get better. No, I'm
Right.
real, because I don't have an answer for that.
Hmm.
But if there is a silver lining, where do you see we as a people, first, as a Black community first, can take from this to grow better? Because I think you always have to look at the positive side of tragedy. And then as a human collective. So as a Black community first, what are the lessons learned? And then as a human global collective, what are the lessons learned?
Well, in short, just to start off, the lessons learned should be pretty obvious for Black people. Um, it's finally time to turn the clock back, in a sense. There was a time where we stuck together. it's time to band together. It's past time to band together. We always talked about, and there's been rap songs written about it. I know Public Enemy Chuck D has talked about, I like Nike, but wait a minute, put the money, where's the money in the community? Put some money in it. So those not supporting us, let's not support them, right? But here's the other thing. We talked about the president, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We have too many hip hop stars, R&B stars, celebrities themselves. They on social media. This is prior to the pandemic, right? Prior to the pandemic, social media flaunting their wares, flaunting their money. Floyd Mayweather, who great boxer, the greatest, right? You see him oftentimes posting pictures with hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Millions of dollars. Jay-Z, Diddy, and those guys. I not long ago, I remember a few months ago, they posted a photo of them talking about the Billionaires Club or whatever, and that's all nice. I'm not hating on the fact that they were successful. More power to you. Tip my hat.
I agree.
But what are you really doing with that? They give a lot of lip service, and I hate to put anybody down. I don't know what they're doing in their personal lives or whatever, and they have every right to do whatever they want. But we need to stop looking up to them. We need to stop, because this whole world, not just Black people, it's all about me. Do me. I'm a do me.
Narcissism.
Yeah. Love yourself.
Selfie, iPhone.
And so when you think about selfie, exactly, when you think about that, now you have the reason why Donald Trump is president, because it's all about me. Everything Donald Trump does, he says it's the best, it's the greatest, it's the biggest, it's huge, and that's everybody though. So we can't hate on him because we all doing that.
The leader is the reflection of the collective spirit of those he leads. So if he's bad, we are bad.
Absolutely. So the Black, so now with the pandemic, right? They can't go out. These guys, these girls, they can't go out and do big concerts, and it's hard even to release albums right now, right? So now the ones that really are desperate. Now some of them have done this, and it's been nice. D-Nice, the DJ, it's been great.
DJ, pretty cool, yeah.
Oh my God, what he did was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't see nobody else really doing something like that, right? But we see them now. It's a big thing. I mean, I love Idris Elba, but I don't need to. He's not the face of coronavirus.
No,
right?
No, and yeah. See, that's why I'm talking to you, because we have reached a point. I remember being a journalist, Stacy, and I would write a story for the Miami Herald, Time Magazine, or whoever. And if I didn't have some name attached, it wouldn't make it to the public. Right. And I don't work for you guys anymore, so I can say that. But we really reached that phase where who really matters. And I think what you said is so critical. I don't knock entertainers, they're entertainers. And I think some of the entertainers would say, man, let me just do music. But role models and leadership, no, we need to start understanding lawmakers. We need to start
but you know what, Peter, let me say this, and what you're saying is so critical too, about the lawmakers. But I would love to see more folks. I mean, you've interviewed a lot of folks. But I would love to see Denzel and Jay-Z and guys like that, Beyonce, to sit with you. I would love to see them sit with Peter Bailey, because Peter Bailey is bringing the real, right? What the community really feels, not the fake of what the community. There's a lot of fakeness in our community too. Let's be real. But you're bringing, and the Black press of America for 193 years has bought it, right?
Yes. Yes.
The realness. But these guys only come to Peter Bailey or Stacy Brown or the Black press of America when they're in trouble. There's only a few that come otherwise, right?
Like I say, when everybody wins the BT Awards, no one shows up.
No
The
one shows
Grammys
up.
snob you every day,
Yeah,
crying for them Oscars, crying
yeah.
for them Oscars.
When they get in
Ebony
trouble.
Magazine, you don't show up.
Look, I'll never forget. Look, you know, Michael Jackson, all these awards. He never went to the NAACP Image Awards. Never until he got in trouble in 1993. He presented Debbie what's her name, Debbie Morgan, with an award, and he never does that. He never did that. You know, O.J. Simpson. All of a sudden, O.J. He's the blackest thing going, right? Give me a break.
But
You know,
Stacey, I think what's so positive because wow, I think I'll bet this conversation. I think we're 4 minutes away from 10 because I think it's the Zoom only does it. I want to say this, man. Wow, Stacy, I think everything we just said in a weird bit of, I think all of this is changing, Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you just said, I think the world is seeing. I think Black kids, white kids, people are sitting back and reassessing, who do I value? Who do I put on a pedestal? Is this entertainer who's on Instagram just throwing money, calling women all kind of madness, showing everything God gave you? I think people are starting to understand because we're in a real situation.
Yep.
In a real situation, the fake's always going to disappear. You're going to see who's fake.
Yep.
You know, and having said that, Stacy, man, you are one of the realists, man, for talking to me, because for me, this is more about sharing information. Because when my 76-year-old mother calls, you know, and her thing is the little video games on the iPhone. She played a little ping pong thing. But people like her, people like my friends, my cousins, my neighbors, who we are already as a people distrustful of the established media. And that's not a shot to our colleagues in the press, right. But you guys have failed the Black community. And that's why the Black Press USA and Black-owned media, to me, is so critical at this juncture. And I consider you family in that movement of presenting our authentic stories, man. So we're gonna take this off the live now, and